council, or like the screens for the planning commissioners are working, so they can see what we have on screen. So hopefully you don't have any issue down there. Okay, let's see.
Hello and welcome to the Monday, August 21st, 2023 Wayzata Planning Commission meeting. I hereby call this meeting to order. My name is Larissa Stockton and I am the chair of the Wayzata Planning Commission. The first thing I'd like to do is let you know how you can join this meeting remotely. First, we have some hybrid meeting information. Meeting ID is 828-2021-7919, passcode 053974. Members of the public may attend this Planning Commission meeting in person or watch and listen remotely by viewing the meeting on Channel 8 WCTV and the city's website at wayzata.org/WCTV. Public comment during the public forum and/or public hearing portions of the meeting may be provided in person at the meeting in advance or logged into the Zoom call and raising their hand. We don't have any public meetings tonight, but I'll read the information anyway for consistency. When your name would be called in the meeting, you'd be seen and heard in council chambers and the cable channel. You'll be asked to unmute and then you begin your comment. All public comments must include your name and address. City encourages comments or questions about items on the agenda and, when possible, requests that you submit them in advance by emailing publiccomment@wayzata.org, calling city staff at 952-404-5323, or mailing Wayzata City Hall at 600 Rice Street East, Wayzata, Minnesota 55391. Attention, public comment. Great. Now that that's read, can we please call the roll call? Thank you.
Yes, Chair. Commissioner Schwabe?
Here.
Commissioner Douglas?
Here.
Chair Stockton?
Here.
Commissioner Merriam?
Here.
Commissioner Severson?
Here.
Commissioner Elg?
Here.
And Chair, please note that Commissioner Sorensen is absent this evening.
Thank you. Okay, so next we can go ahead and do the approval of our agenda. This evening we have, well, as presented, right? So I'm trying to go off script today. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Douglas.
May I have a second?
Second. Commissioner Merriam.
Thank you, Commissioner Merriam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If there's no further discussion, all those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. We have two items on the consent agenda. First, A, approval of meeting minutes on August 7th, 2023. And second, B, approval of the Planning Commission report and recommendation of approval for Planned Unit Development, or PUD General Plan, Shoreland Residential Planned Unit Development / Conditional Use Permit, PUD/CUP, and zoning map amendment rezoning for Westway condominiums at 201 Lake Street East. Does any commissioner have any questions or comments on any item on the consent agenda or further discussion? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved, Douglas.
Thank you, Commissioner Douglas. May I have a second?
Second, Elg.
Thank you, Commissioner Elk. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion passes and the consent agenda is approved. Okay, next we have old business items. They are consideration of zoning text amendments to Chapter 918, fencing / screening. Do we have, Director Geller, do we have further information to present tonight?
Yes, we do. It'll be a brief presentation from Planner Quarles this evening.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Commissioners. Tonight I'm just going over the changes that were made since the last meeting. I'm not going through everything that we talked about last time, just the changes that were requested by the Planning Commission as part of the last meeting. In terms of prior review, these are the fence changes that we looked at the July 17th meeting, and these are the changes that go from there. We did recommend that conditional use permits in the fence code be changed to variances. Overall, there was an agreement between the Planning Commission and staff that the variance process made a little more sense, just because when we talk about fences that need to be a little different, that's typically linked to some unique factor in the property, which is pretty good fit with the variance process. And the amended code in the packet shows that all those provisions for CUPs and all those CUP standards have been removed. And what that means is just there's a list of standards. If you want to deviate from them, that's a variance process, and there's not any special standards for those variance requests, just like any other variance request in the code. And then the other change, which was just not really discussed with Planning Commission, but one that staff noticed as we got another chance to look at the fence code when making these changes, is that there was a specific section for non-conforming fence standards within Chapter 918. We ended up taking out those standards because that was set up so that any fence in town that was non-conforming, meaning it doesn't fit with our code, but maybe it got that way before we instituted those fence standards, it was very, very strict about anything that you could do with those fences, and really did its best to make sure that any fence that was non-conforming would have to come down in some way or another. You were barely even allowed to repair those sorts of fences. That's a lot more strict than the state or the city standards about non-conforming structures, and so we decided to remove that section in order to make sure we were in line with all of our other standards about non-conforming structures, now including fences. So that being said, happy to take any questions for staff.
I think we have a question. Thank you.
I just want to clarify one thing. Last time, there was a lot of discussion about barbed wire. And for 5+ acres. Is that totally out now? Do they have to come to request a variance for barbed wire?
Yes, that is out. Barbed wire fences were specifically a CUP within the code that's now gone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I have a question, please. You said that you removed all the language regarding non-conforming fences. So was anything included about a non-conforming fence, like it can remain as it is, or is there any language in there?
Now, if you had a non-conforming fence, you'd go over to, we have a separate chapter of code about how we regulate non-conforming structures, so you would use that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. If there's no more questions, we need to take a motion on this to pass it as is. Attorney Schelzel? Or Director
Chair, I was
Keller?
actually just, before we move on to that question, I did notice that barbed wire fences is actually still in the language.
Oh,
So I'm glad you caught that. We would like to strike that, correct?
Yes.
Is that, okay, so can I put you to page 38 of your packets? This is also the underline overstruck or redlined version in your packets. And it's on the first page of the fencing screening language. And then it's the letter D, general provisions. Number 5 is where we see barbed wire fences. So again, this is page 38 of 48 of the packet. So to clarify, I think we wanted to strike that entire line. Is that correct?
That's in line with our removing all of the other language about CUPs. This one was just outside of that section, so I would assume that's why staff missed it. So if the Planning Commission agrees with removing that provision for barbed wire fences.
Does any commissioner have a reservation about removing? That doesn't look like we do.
Great. So we would include that with any motion to approve this report. We would ensure that that is corrected for the council meeting. So Chair, I would love if you could repeat your question that you had.
Okay,
to that.
so then
Thank
it
you.
sounds like we do need to make a motion to consider the zoning text amendments to Chapter 918 fencing and screening.
Yes, and I think you could, we have the motion on your screens there. It's that final box to approve the report and recommendation with the change to the barbed wire fences language would be the motion.
We're
You know.
still seeing the camera.
We're just seeing the camera right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
We
okay.
are having more than just a projector issue this evening
We
then.
see you in more than one place.
Oh,
right
great,
now.
okay. So the motion that we put together, so I can just read that to you, is to approve the Planning Commission report and recommendation of approval for the zoning text amendments to the fencing and screening chapter. So-
Okay.
Chair, I'd just add with a caveat to also update the proposed amendments to strike any reference to barbed wire or conditional use permit. Other than that, I think you could ask for someone to
motion.
make that motion.
Okay. Would any commissioner like to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Mary. May I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Douglas. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion passes. And I'm not going to repeat that whole motion.
No, Chair, I would note for the record that that will go on to the City Council now, as well as the Westway Condominium Planning Report and recommendation that was adopted as part of your consent agenda. So Council will take that up at their next meeting.
So council will take it to the next meeting, and it moves to the consent agenda.
This report will go straight on to Council.
Straight to council.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have other items, which is review of development activities, and B, Planning Commission meeting schedule. Are there any updates for these two areas, Director Gellner? Thank you.
Yes, I will be canceling our next meeting since none of the items tonight were continued or tabled to the next meeting. Sorry, I couldn't give you more notice than that, but we will plan to cancel the meeting on Wednesday, September 6th, due to a lack of agenda items.
Okay.
We are working hard to have at least one public hearing on Monday, September 18th, so please save that date as usual. And we have 5 applications in right now, so we won't do all 5 in one night. Of course, we'll move through them in the months of September and October. So I anticipate that we will have both of our October meetings. I don't know much about November quite yet.
Okay, thank you. I believe that concludes this evening's meeting. Thank you for everybody for participating. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Schwalbe. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Elg. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion passes, and the Monday, August 21st, 2023 Wayzata Planning Commission meeting is adjourned. Thank you.